Hey guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the Geekcast. We have a great show for you today. I am Matt of Matt's Geek Corner,
I'm Mittenz 13.
and we have a very special guest with us today joining us for the episode, PlayBeat Delete. And we're going to take a minute to interview her. So, Mittens, the floor is yours.
PlayBeat. So a little bit about yourself. What do you do?
All right. I go by PlayBeat Delete or Play. Most people call me Play. My whole deal is play it, beat it, and delete it. So that is how I tackle my backlog. I have a backlog currently of about 330 games that I have not started. So we play through it. Beating it can mean getting either a platinum or just knocking it out, beat the main story, and then delete it to reclaim my hard drive space.
Awesome. That's a lot of games. I feel you on that completely because I have so many that I want to play, so many series I haven't even touched. And that is a great thing to do is just like play it, beat it, and then delete it. That's awesome that your name actually correlates with what you do. What do you like to do in your spare time?
Spare time. I mean, assuming I actually get some spare time. Um, Either I'm cooking, because that's always super fun. I used to do videos for those too, or crocheting.
Awesome. What do you like to crochet?
I've been making those little figures, like little animal figures, made little doggies and stuff like that.
Little chibis?
Yes, they're just
Oh, that's adorable. What would be like your favorite series of video games?
Oh God, favorite series. I'm gonna say BioShock.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
The story is what got me super interested in that type of game back when I first started really jumping into video games during when the PS3 first came out. Well, not first came out actually. I take that back. I got the third gen PS3. That's when I first started playing games like that.
Which one was that?
And the
Sorry.
the third gen PS3,
Yeah.
that's the 60 gig, the
Okay.
big fat one.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's mine.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
But yeah, BioShock 1 just blew me away with its story and its gameplay, and it kind of helped with the problem a little bit.
The collection problem.
Yes.
That's awesome. So like what is your favorite console then? Is it gonna be PlayStation?
Probably only because that's the one I started with. My very first home console was a PS2. That was a gift from my parents. I got it near the end of its lifespan, right before the PS3 came out. So they said, "Well, yours still works. You don't need the new one." So I saved up money to get it.
How long have you been streaming?
I've been streaming now for almost 2 years. 2 years in June, actually.
Oh wow. GG's.
That seems a lot longer than it actually is.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And like the next your future goals, like what do you plan on doing with, other than past 2 years, maybe in the 5 years or so?
For the future, I want to be. Lately, I haven't been as consistent with streaming as I would have liked because life. So hopefully I can get back to my normal schedule. I do have some fun ideas coming up for a new series that I want to stream, and that could potentially include cosplay. So we'll see.
Ooh, very nice. What do you cosplay?
I've only done it once. It wasn't very good. If you ask me, don't interrupt, Matt. Um, but the next one will probably end up being more along the lines of Mass Effect related. So I'm learning.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm learning too. So we can learn together. That's awesome. It's great to have you here. I really appreciate you spending the time with us and actually going to be getting into a little bit more of the news and see what kind of is coming up, Matt.
So there wasn't a whole lot of video game releases this week. I think it might have been MLB The Show, but I don't follow that series a whole lot. But I did, basically following up on what we talked about last week with the PlayStation Network and the new PlayStation Plus service. If you own or if you are currently subscribed to PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now at the same time, you're going to automatically be grandfathered into the PlayStation Plus Premium, which is the one that's got all the PS1, PS2, PS3, PSP. No Vita. I'm hoping we get Vita soon, but it's going to be that one. And then what's going to happen to regular people is we're going to be upgraded and grandfathered into the PlayStation Plus Essential, which is the new name for PlayStation Plus. But the cool thing about this is that if you want to upgrade to the premium, you do not have to pay the full 120 right now. You can basically just pay the difference, and that's really awesome. Yes, it's going to be another $60 for us, but still, for me at least, I saved some money aside because I was going to I wanted to have the money ready for when it went live in June so that I can, just have it there, play it, play all the games, beat them, delete them.
Yes.
No, most of the stuff that's going to be on there is probably stuff I've already played 1,000 times and beaten 1,000 times. But they also said they are not allowing people to stack cards anymore. Somehow somebody found a loophole and they were putting all the cards together, stacking them, because the thing is, your longest service. So let's say you have PlayStation Plus from now and it expires in 2-3 years. That would be when you would have to pay for the PlayStation Plus premium. So you upgrade, you get upgraded, grandfathered in for no cost for having both PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now. But say your Plus subscription is expiring in 3 or 4 years, you have 3 or 4 years of PlayStation Plus premium until it cancels out, until you have to pay for it again. So that's when they were like, nuh-uh, you're not stacking things to do that. We're not going to allow that. So they put a hold on that for right now until it goes live. I think they're going to allow people to stack again, but right now they were like, no, because people are going to just buy all the subscriptions they can, stack them up so that they don't have to pay anything for 8 years if they wanted to.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I know, no, totally good idea, but Sony's like, nope. I mean, Xbox, if I remember correctly, they don't allow you to stack anything. I tried to do that once with Live. Tried to stack 2 subscriptions. Wouldn't work. They wouldn't let me do it. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just use this one next year. But PBD, your thoughts on the PlayStation Plus newness? What are your thoughts on this? Because I know you and we talk about PlayStation stuff all the time. Trophies, games, collabs. What are your thoughts on this new service?
Well, I know I for one will not be getting the premium one. It's just not worth it for me. I already have a humongous backlog. So the last thing I need is that. I mean, sure, you'll be able to do the PS1, PS2, PS3 games. Like, but I have enough PS4, PS5, Xbox, 3DS, and other games. I don't need to be worried about that. Plus, I still have all my old systems. My PS3 I still have, PSP I still have, Vita I still have. So
Yeah.
there's no winning for me.
I mean, I have the systems, but right now on my PS3, I'm just looking at it right now, and it's struggling to get my disc in there. It's like, oh, kill me.
Oh no.
Basically, that PS3 is over 10 years old now. I got the original 40 gig, and once that ran out of room, I was like, oh, let me upgrade. Instead of deleting stuff, I'll just upgrade and get a new one. So I got the slim PS3 because I really wanted more space, and it was fine. And then after a while, it struggles to get the games, and even the PS4 is struggling now. But PS4 games work on the 5 anyway, so I don't really care about that. But like what I'm hoping for, and I told Mittenz this, I'm hoping for some really hard to find games on the PS Plus Premium. And they actually did just announce 3 games got rumored or leaked or added to the PSN, and it was like Tekken 3, Ridge Racer 4, and one other game that were basically super popular games on the PS1. So those games are actually already available on the PS3 through the network, although it's kind of a hassle to buy those games on PS3 now. You have to basically add money to your in-game wallet and then do it that way. You cannot do it via credit card anymore, which really stinks, but I get it. They're trying to get the service off the PS3 and do away with it. And also, I found out that Metal Gear Solid 4 is going to be leaving PlayStation Now soon, which sucks. Not for me. I still have it physically sitting up there on my wall, and I still have my other copy signed by Kojima somewhere else. But for the people who want to play it digitally, unless they're going to bring it back, they will not be able to play it because it's going to go bye-bye, and it is locked to PS3. It has not been on any other system. Never got released on a remaster for PS4 or anything. It sure as heck wasn't going to go to Xbox because it would have been like 90 discs. I'm kidding. But yeah, supposedly that game's leaving, and a lot of people are unhappy about that. But I'm hoping that they bring it back because I do like playing the digital version of it, so I don't have to worry about putting the disc in. But I think it has something to do with like the whole emulation PS3 thing where they're trying to figure it out, and they said they can't, which we said last week they can because people have done it. I've seen people on YouTube doing it. They can do it, and it's like you just don't want to. You don't want to. You don't
Yeah.
want us to be able to put the disc in the system. Now, my thing is, if I can put all my PS1 games, PS2 games, it probably won't happen. But if I can, without downloading, and just take my copy of Resident Evil Director's Cut and pop it in my system, cool. I'll definitely be happy with that. But if I have to download it, it's not a problem. I don't care. They're honestly not going to be big. They're going to be very small games, like probably like megabytes or gigabyte. I think if it's Final Fantasy VII, it'd be like a gigabyte.
The only problem, like I understand, I have all my old systems too. I collect all of them, but it's just obtaining, like you said, any of the games that you want to play. So you have the PS1, awesome. And the game you want to play, I don't know, Legend of Dragoon, you're going to pay lots of money to actually get that disc and actually play it. Well, multiple discs for that game, but it's going to be a lot of money to find it. And finding it in a good condition, another thing. So that's the only benefit I'm seeing from the premium is what if they do release something that big and you're like, oh crap, like I've never been able to find this anywhere. That's the only benefit I'm seeing, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, right now you can definitely get Legend of Dragoon on PS3 for like $10. So let's see, $10 for $500. What? No.
Versus the disc, yeah.
Versus the disc, and so yeah, I said it before, but Konami, Sony, guys, whoever has the source code for Silent Hill, please, for the love of God, put it on the PS Plus Premium. I want to play 4 on a system and not my computer. Thank you. Because I have it on GOG, and it's very hard to play that game because the controls are not what I thought they were. It's like F for run. I was like, well, what the hell? I'm using an Xbox controller. What button is F? So I had to kind of just mess with it and figure it out. But I didn't like playing it that way. I mean, yeah, it was on sale, but I was like, I don't know if I like this too much. But yeah, any more thoughts on that before we move on to the video game / movie TV news?
At this point, I'm just beating a dead horse.
All right. So the Resident Evil Netflix series has gotten a release date as well as a new poster. The series that follows the Wesker children will be released on July 14th. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about that, Wesker children. Also, from the pictures and stuff I've seen, it does not look like anything that I've seen from the games. I'm just like, what is this? What is this? This is not... And a lot of people were kind of on the fence about it. I mean, I may watch it, but again, the CGI movies and the CGI show, from what I heard, are so much better. But this one is just kind of like Netflix doing that thing like they did with all their other live action adaptations where they have a good idea and they screw it up. Cowboy Bebop was one I heard was pretty bad. I didn't watch it, but a lot of people did not like it, and it got canceled like before the first season even, or like within a week it got canceled. So a lot of their adaptations are not the best, and I think Death Note is another one I've heard not good things about. Now, if it's animated, Castlevania, yeah, definitely. But I'm not sure how I feel on the Resident Evil live action Netflix series because the movies were kind of...
We'll talk about that later.
They were movies. Yeah, I'll talk about those later. But what have y'all seen anything on this one, the Resident Evil Netflix stuff?
I haven't yet. I'm definitely trying not to sully my appearance of it first because I want to check it out really beforehand. I definitely... You never know. It's always hit or miss when it comes to something that maybe the lore of or something like that, and you just want them to kind of at least be with that flow. And if they're not, of course, you're going to be disappointed. But I got to go in with an open mind.
Now, y'all have played... I know, PBD, you played Horizon Zero Dawn, but Mittenz, have you played Horizon Zero Dawn?
Not yet.
So, the guy that plays Silence in the game... I won't spoil it, but he is playing Wesker supposedly in the live action show. And I was like,
oh,
okay. I like the actor, so I'm giving it a chance for that because I loved him on Fringe. And he was great in John Wick 1, 2, and 3. But he is playing, I believe he is playing Wesker from what I was reading and everything. I didn't read too much about the plot and everything because I didn't want to, like Mitten said, I didn't want to be disappointed. As MJ said in Spider-Man, if you expect disappointment, you'll never be disappointed, right? I just watched that last night. But yeah, we'll see how it is. I still need to watch Infinite Darkness on Netflix, but we'll talk about the Resident Evil stuff later in the episode. PBD, do you have any thoughts on this? Or are you just kind of going it?
I'm gonna try and keep an open mind like I do with everything else. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I could listen to everybody's critical opinions and how they think so. It's like, yeah, but your opinion might not reflect my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it does come out exactly 1 week before my birthday. So at least I'll have something to watch on my birthday.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
And
We'll
is it
see.
gonna be like a 1 episode thing, or is it gonna be a full?
I think
the
it's
full
gonna be
season?
episodes.
Ooh.
No, it's Netflix, so it'll probably be released once at a time. So okay, it comes out around the same time as part 2 of Stranger Things season 5. So yeah, which one do you think is gonna do a little better? Because I think
Probably
Stranger
Stranger
Things
Things.
is broken into 2 volumes. Like volume 1 is released. I know it's not gaming news, but volume 1's releasing at the end of May, and then I think they said volume 2 is releasing like that same week in July. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna watch that instead. But I'm gonna give the Resident Evil show a chance. I gave all the movies a chance. Hated every single one of them after 2, but I gave them all a chance and I watched them because it was a guilty pleasure. But I did we'll talk about it later. Speaking of gaming news or gaming TV shows, I'll save the Uncharted stuff for when we get to the actual topic of the show. So, in case you are wondering, the topic of the show is the video game adaptations versus like video games that they're based on, and then the movie times and everything. But Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has a release date for streaming. The movie is releasing on May 24th for Paramount Plus. So if you have Paramount Plus, you can watch it then. I did not see the movie in theaters. I heard good things. I heard great things. I enjoyed the first one a lot, but this one is doing a lot of stuff that I liked in the Sonic 2 and 3 games. So I'm super excited for that to see how that turns out. But I'm definitely gonna check that out when it streams. What do you guys think? Or have you seen the movie?
I had not.
Me neither.
Okay, so we're all gonna be in this together. We should
Yes.
definitely do like a review on it once we get a chance to watch it. Do a review what we thought of it and everything.
You said Paramount Plus, right?
Paramount Plus, yep. Formerly
Cool.
CBS All Access. So unless there's nothing else, I guess we can jump into the topic of the show. I know I kind of jumped ahead there, but if there's nothing else for us to talk about here, we can definitely get into it and talk about the many different gaming movies.
Yeah. How about you, PBD? Do you have any current news that you want to talk about?
Really? There's really not much going on, like gaming-wise, things that I'm interested in, or nothing right now.
Yeah, it's kind of quiet.
Well, Bethesda is doing a showcase on June 10th, 12th, June something. I know, breaking news, I didn't add it to the list here, but that is something I am looking forward to because Starfield, I'll play Starfield. I am interested in Indiana fucking Jones, okay? You announced that game 2 or 3 years ago before you got bought out by Microsoft, and I was excited when you announced it. I was like, hell yeah. I want to see what kind of game it is. I want to see if it's going to be a third person or first person. I think it need to be third person because trying to do a game like that in first person, it doesn't, I don't know, because I know it's being made by Machine Games, who is known for doing, I think they worked on the Quake remaster. I saw their name on something that I had recently, but they are famously known for the new Wolfenstein games and everything. So I think they would do more of a third person, similar to like Evil Within gameplay, how that game looked in third person, because Tango has worked on Ghostwire, which is now a first person game. So it's like, what are we gonna do? That's the only game I care about from them. And I want to see if maybe we'll get some more games from them on Game Pass, like in their back library, like, those Terminator games I was talking about last week.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. So
yeah.
We'll see, because I know E3 has been canceled this year, so we'll see what happens with the Bethesda showcase. And I think it's like a Bethesda / Xbox, so they might have some Microsoft stuff there too. Maybe some stuff on Perfect Dark, hopefully, because that game's kind of in limbo right now, just like the first game was when it was getting developed. So we'll see what happens with that. But, before we jump into it, any thoughts on what y'all hope to see from the Bethesda stuff?
Not really. There's so many big games that they make that I'm looking forward to possibly seeing maybe new games out, but it's just, I don't want anything come out before it needs to come out. I don't want it to be,
Yeah, I mean, there's rumors of a Quake 5, I think, so we'll see about that. Quake 5. I know they're trying to remaster Quake 2. but I will see how that goes because I know that it is available on Game Pass through the PC, but it was very hard for me to play that one, and the music was cut out of it, so I was like, no, no, thank you. I don't want to play a game with no music because it's heavily licensed music, so they had to take it out. So I understand, but yeah, that's about it for the news. So let's go ahead and get into the topic of the show: video games versus their movie counterparts, and movie tie-in games versus their movie counterparts. Because if you grew up in the '90s, every action movie had a video game. Terminator, Demolition Man, Judge Dredd, Last Action Hero. Threw up a little bit.
I just saw that one actually.
And great movie. Terrible freaking game. But I guess I'll let you start, Mittens. What are some of your memories of video game movies versus the games they were based on?
So, I mean, as a kid, Super Mario Brothers, Mortal Kombat's the first one and the second one. Wow. What else was what that I saw? Blood Rain as a kid. I watched that. Final Fantasy, a couple others that I just can't name, but like you look at them now and you're like, oh, these are really bad movies, but I enjoy them still. Even the cheese that they have, like I still enjoy the cheese. Mortal Kombat is still, if it's on TV, I'm watching it. Like I don't care how old I'm gonna be, I'm gonna freaking watch it.
Yeah.
Resident Evil game, like the game in the movies, I watch that every time it's on TV too. And it's not, I think they're good movies. Like, I enjoy them. I love the action. I love the scares. Like, and I hate zombies, so it's something that I can actually enjoy and not have nightmares.
Yeah. What about you, PBD?
If we're gonna go back to the 90s, and yeah, Super Mario Brothers, that's a big one. The Mortal Kombat, of course. The first Resident Evil movie, I enjoyed. I like that one. The rest were very over the top, but I will watch them just because it's just chaotic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And chaotic is what I need sometimes. Like, okay, let's just let everything die.
Yeah.
But that first Resident Evil, I like that one.
So for me, one of the first video game movies I ever saw was actually not based on a game itself. It was called The Wizard. It starred Fred Savage, Christian Slater, and Jeff Bridges' brother. It's basically about this kid going from his house in somewhere middle of nowhere town to California to compete in this big video game. It's kind of he like wants to see his mom again or something because his parents went through a divorce or some crap like that. When I was a kid, I didn't remember, but it was heavily based around Super Mario Brothers 3. It was basically one big promotion for Super Mario Brothers 3. And it was filmed at Universal Studios, which is kind of ironic because guess who's getting Mario Land? Universal. And so they compete in this big competition. It was the Nintendo championship stuff that they used to do back in the day. And so that's how I first learned out where the hidden whistle was in Super Mario Brothers 3. We're watching and we're like, oh, I wonder if that's real. Let's try it. So we found it. And young Tobey Maguire was in that movie. So interesting movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. That's where we saw the Power Glove for the first time. And the kid had the line saying, it's so bad. And I was like, yeah, you got that right. How right you are. That line was bad. That glove is bad. The whole scene was bad. Anyways, Super Mario Brothers, yeah, was one of the first like real gaming movies I saw. And at the time when I was a kid, I was kind of like, I just enjoyed it because I was a little kid. I didn't care. And I was like, later I got older and I said, this movie kind of stinks. But then the more reviews and stuff I watched on it, the more people say, look, there's a lot of stuff in this movie that is from the game that you just don't realize. You got Bertha the fish, which is the lady wearing the, I think, red outfit. Iggy and Ziggy are in it. The two guys, obviously Mario, Luigi, which you had a British guy playing Mario and a Hispanic guy playing Luigi. I love John Leguizamo, but that casting was kind of odd. But yeah, you had all the characters from the movies, from the game, and then Bowser, yeah, he didn't look like he did in the game. It was kind of odd, but when he turned into that monster at the end, you're like, okay, there he is. And a lot of the cast really just did not get along with the directors from what I heard. And they just did it because they wanted to see the movie through to the end. They wanted to see it through to the end. But I think Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo used to do shots before every scene from what I was hearing. And they would just go in and do the movie. And I was like, okay, I mean, if you had to get through that movie, I'd have to do some shots as well, probably, if you're making a movie that's just constantly changing. But the first big one that everybody, I mean, Double Dragon is another bad one that came out. I never saw Double Dragon, but I've heard not so good things about it. And so you had Mortal Kombat was probably the next one I saw. And it's interesting because Mortal Kombat 1 was awesome. It had a lot of stuff from the games, like a lot of things in the games. And then Paul Anderson, what the hell? You made 6 shitty Resident Evil movies. 2 of them were good. After that, it was kind of like, and I found out why, because Mila Jovovich, his wife, y'all know her from Fifth Element and Alice in Resident Evil. She said he just looks at stuff in the games and says, "Okay, that looks cool. Let's put it in a movie." And the problem I had with the Resident Evil movies was that they started feeling out of date after a while. Like if you saw Retribution, I think one of the last ones, I think it was Retribution, when Leon and Ada showed up, and then even Barry. I'm watching this going, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why does Barry's outfit look like he's straight out of the 90s? And why is Ada wearing that dumb red dress from Resident Evil 4? Why is Leon wearing his dumb outfit from Resident Evil 4? My issue with those movies is that you watch a Marvel movie, you got Scarlet Witch, you got Captain America, you got Electro, who doesn't look ridiculous with a lightning bolt through his head. So they made the characters look different from their comic counterparts because it makes sense. I'm like, these comic books, you don't want them to look exactly like they do from the comics because their outfits are so ridiculous. Like Quicksilver's outfit is just super silly. So they made him look more modern. I wish they had done that with Resident Evil. Make them look more modern and less like they were in the games. Because yes, I'd like to have the characters in the game, but I don't want them to, or in the movie, but I don't want them to look like they did from the games. I want them to look a little bit different, you know? So
Yeah.
it was just a problem I had. And then the last Resident Evil movie that came out, Clara shows back up, and I'm like, oh god, she's wearing her dumb outfit from Revelations 2. Make her look different from the game, please. Dude, like, what the hell? At least in Welcome to Raccoon City, they looked like that was fine because it was set in the 90s. I'm like, okay, cool. They're basing it off the games. Cool. I'm okay with this. I wasn't okay with the movie in 2017 having characters looking like they did in 1996 and 2004 or 2005, whenever 4 came out. So that's basically my thoughts on some of those. But I'll let y'all talk about some of your other gaming movies that we have on this list here. Because I do want to talk about Uncharted, but I'll say that for a little bit later.
It doesn't have to actually necessarily just be the films, because like the Witcher series is absolutely amazing.
Sorry guys, I have not seen it yet. I know. Sorry.
Shame.
I do want to watch it. Same with Halo, but continue. Carry on.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I won't spoil it for you, but it basically the games are not really canon. So you don't even have to worry about playing the games to watch the shows. It's going by the book series, which I have like behind me over here. So the book series is pretty amazing. If you haven't read any of it, I can say that since it's being translated from Polish, it can be kind of hard to understand who's talking when they do the conversations and stuff. But in the show, they have perfectly adapted it so that you can understand exactly what's going on at any point in time. And then the second season brings it all together. So it's really good. It has all the action, the gore. It has any of the magical creatures you love. It's got, of course, a really strong male figure. I don't want to say daddy, but I mean like
Superman.
He's awesome as Geralt. And then of course there's a lot of intricate romance going on with multiple people. So it's got everything.
So basically what you're saying is y'all really don't know much about the plot past Superman in the game. I'm calling it Superman until I watch the show because that's what I remember him from. You're just like, what was happening again? No, I'm kidding. You know, there was a Witcher TV show back in the late 90s. I don't think it was released in America, but when I was first reading into The Witcher and stuff and watching some videos on it and everything, they said there was a TV show based on The Witcher on the books, not the games, obviously, because the games were not out yet, but there was a TV show. It was either late 90s or early 2000s, and I think it was only released in Poland because it was going off the books, so it was easier for them to put it over there instead of translating everything like you were saying.
Yeah, and then they do have a couple more movies, like an animated Witcher movie from like pre everything that happens in the games and the new series. where you kind of get to know his teacher, Vesemir, and
Okay.
how kind of what happens to the Witchers in general.
Yeah.
And that's a really good movie too. If y'all haven't seen that, it's a pretty good movie
I'll
as
definitely
well.
check that. When
Really
did that one
surprised by
release?
that one.
What was that, PBD?
I was really surprised by that one, the one with Vesemir. I went into it, I was like, okay, well, we'll see how it is. I mean, it's animated. Let's see. I was so surprised at the end. I was like, I love this. This is great.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of animated movies, we also have and I already talked about the animated Resident Evils, but we also have the Dead Space movies. I think there was only 2 of them, and they were animated. Basically, came out with the first game and the second game. And the interesting thing about that one, at least the first one, because I didn't see the second one, but when you're watching the first one, and you see a spot where they're trying to arrest this doctor or whatever, and he gets stabbed in the eye. I'm like, oh, that's the part from the game where the dude gets stabbed in the eye. And I know I hate to have a thing with getting stabbed in the eyes, but you see it in a little monitor. He's talking, and you see it happen, and then you see it happen in the show. You're like, and that's when I realized, oh, this is going on before everything hit the fan when Isaac shows up and everything. So I like that they did that. I like that they tied it into the game that way. But I didn't see the second one. I don't know why I didn't watch the second one, and there wasn't one for the third one because the third game, it's a game. But are there any good video game movies that you guys have seen? I know we mentioned Sonic the Hedgehog, but there are some that are actually pretty decent.
Ooh. So I don't know. What about you, PBD?
God, I would need to put more thought into it, honestly. I've seen a lot of bad ones, but
Yeah.
something that's good other than Sonic, because Sonic was fun, but
What about Detective Pikachu?
oh, I did enjoy Detective Pikachu.
It was enjoyable, yes. It was cute, but it wasn't really based on the video game other than the characters that were in it.
Right.
They just happen to exist in this world together. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, did you guys see well, back to Mortal Kombat. What did you think of the new one, Mittens? Because I know we had Mortal Kombat 1, and then we had Annihilation. And then we have the new Mortal Kombat. But the new Mortal Kombat, it had some moments that I didn't like, such as the main character, Cole. Like, I just put Johnny Cage in the damn movie. Cole was irritating. He irritated my soul. And then Shang Tsung took it.
Yeah, I didn't like that he was the main character or anything like that, but I guess they were trying to break away and make him his own so you can see everybody else that you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it based off of one main character from the game and just go by their storyline. You want to tie it all together. The fight scenes were amazing. It's really like Mortal Kombat X. That's what it was, just oh my, the moves that you saw, they incorporated, the things that they said, the storyline. Of course, there's multiple storylines that they can go by, but they went by more of the traditional one, and how everything kind of started between at least Scorpion and everybody. You could tell the whole story with his family, and I really enjoyed that. There was a little bit of cheese, not as much as the original 2. But there was a little bit, and that brought me back to my childhood and made me feel really good. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah. Did you, PBD, you watched it, right?
Yes, I did.
What were your thoughts on it?
Same. I had that same little dose of nostalgia as me and the Mister, actually, since he also loved the original. And then every few seconds, say, "Oh, that's that. Oh, that has to do with this." I'm like, "Yes, I know. I watched it too."
Yeah. Yeah, that one, they had been trying to get that movie made for a while. So they had and there was supposed to be another movie after Annihilation called Devastation or something, but that movie did so bad that they were like, nope. So they made a crappy TV show called Legacy. They made a even crappier cartoon, which I actually enjoyed, but it was not the best. And then they had Mortal Kombat Legacy, which released on YouTube. And people said that was the third Mortal Kombat movie, but I was like, no, that's not, that doesn't even count as being a third movie. It's a YouTube series. They made 2 of those, and then they were like, you know what, that movie did so well, we're going to try and make an actual movie with fatalities and everything. And they had them. The fatalities were there. Definitely, especially with the Jax. Poor
Yes.
Jax. Poor Jax. But he he got better in the end. We won't spoil it too much. Now I will mention a good gaming movie that I did see recently, which was Uncharted. I went into it with an open mind. A lot of people were like, "Oh my god, why is Drake so young?" Blah 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 blah. Because Mark Wahlberg could not play the character now. He's too old. If they were going for more of the Uncharted 4, I would understand. And Mark Wahlberg was attached to the movie back in 2009 when they were first making it, and it just went through development hell for so many years. So they threw Tom Holland in there. Hey, he's Spider-Man, why not? But it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. Definitely check it out. There's a lot of references to the games. There's one major, huge reference that I will not talk about, but I was the only one in the theater going, "No, that's." Everybody's like, "What?" And I was like, "Okay, this, and this." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And they understood what it was. You will, when it happens, you will know exactly what I am talking about, because I lost my freaking mind when it happened. I was like, "Oh my god!" It's like somewhere probably closer to the end of the movie, like midway point, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" And then the end credit scene actually has a cool setup to one of the games. I won't tell you which one, but you will know exactly which one. And there is a small little Easter egg to the beta of Uncharted 1 that I was like, you guys, you know who your fans are. So it was interesting. I liked it. I want to see where the story goes from here. I think it's coming out soon. If it's not on digital already, it's actually probably going to be out. I think the end. If not already, it's coming out this week or last week.
You have it on digital.
You have it on digital? Okay, so it is out on digital already, so definitely check it out. If you're a physical person, I think it came out this past week. Or it's going to be out on Tuesday. Cannot remember. I just know that it's coming out soon. But it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. And if you're a fan of the games, you're going to enjoy every little detail they threw in there to make it for the fans.
You definitely... Oh, go ahead. Yeah, you definitely have to love when they do that, because then you could tell that they definitely played the games too and not just read a script.
Well, at the beginning of the movie, have you watched it yet, PBD?
Yes.
Okay, so you know exactly which cameo I'm talking about, because I didn't tell you. When I told you I saw it, I was like, you got to figure out for yourself. At the beginning of the movie, because I don't know, are you going to watch it, Mittens?
Yes, I'm definitely going to watch it.
Well, at the beginning of the movie, it has nothing to do with the movie. They have a really cool Marvel style Sony intro, because Sony did work on it. Basically says PlayStation Studios at the beginning of the movie. And I was like, and I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, oh, that's Kratos, oh, that's Aloy, oh, that's Ratchet, there's Clank, there's Joel and Ellie, and I'm like sitting there losing my shit during this movie. And I'm glad there were other people with me, because I would have been like the crazy guy in the theater. I don't know if I would have freaked out as much if I was by myself watching it, but I'm sitting next to my dad, and he's yelling out the characters, because he knew exactly, he plays the games too, and he knows the characters and everything. So he's like, "Oh, it's Last of Us," and my sister's sitting 2 seats down. She's like leaning over, "Who's that? Who's that?" And I'm like, "That's this, that's that, that's that." So I got a little excited there, but yeah, it was. I enjoyed it a lot. So I'm curious to see what they do with the Last of Us TV show, because that's going to be HBO, and I know their Neil Druckmann is really heavily involved with that one. So that's like his baby, and he's going to make sure that it does not fail. So I'm curious to see how that works out. And we'll talk about that one once we get closer. I think it's releasing either later this year or next year. They said it's supposed to be releasing, the first episode was going to be during the last episode of Walking Dead sometime this year or next year. I haven't been keeping up with Walking Dead, so I don't know when it's actually ending for sure. So we'll see. We'll see how that show does, and we'll definitely talk about that one too.
Speaking of Walking Dead, there are games. There are games.
Well, hold on. Are we talking about the good ones with Clementine, or that crappy one with Daryl that I wasted $60 on?
Ooh, yeah, no. Well,
I will talk about another game. I will talk about another game that company made, but after we talk about Walking Dead. So yes, the Walking Dead games. What are your thoughts?
I have personally watched like all of them get played through with my friends. I enjoyed them. I thought they were really good. Of course, I'm really bad with zombies and horror games, so I cannot play them. Freak out. So I have to watch somebody else play them for me. The story and like you basing whatever you decide on everybody's fate, like it felt like, okay, the first couple of seasons of Walking Dead, like the first 6 or so, because I stopped watching after that because it kind of got redundant and just like drawn out. So it was just the constant panic and always having to survive every single second. Like that made it for me. That made the game for me.
Yeah. What about you, PBD?
So I played the first 2 of the Telltale games. I never touched the third one. But the first 2, I mean, Clementine is just so sweet.
Yeah.
And you just get so attached to her. And so you feel like your character in trying to protect her. And I just love that they really tried to focus on that bond because that's what makes a story so engrossing. And you want to be there. You want to see everything through to the end. And then when you're making those decisions, whether they're life or death for everybody else, you also have to keep her in mind.
Yeah.
Because that is the point.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. When I first played that one, I remember when they announced it, I was actually at Comic-Con San Diego and they had a whole thing for it. And I was like, oh, there's a Walking Dead thing. But the game wasn't working, so I couldn't play it. And I played it about a year after when it released on PS3 because I think it was only PC for the longest time. Or it was only digital for the longest time. And then they released a physical edition. So I got that one late in 2012. And I remember everybody kept saying the ending, the ending, the ending. I said, what about the ending? Like, I'm not going to tell you, and I won't talk about it here in case you haven't played it, but it's just one of those games where the story just gets you. And once I got to that ending, I was in fucking tears, like on the verge of just like bawling because of what happens. I won't talk about it, but if you know, you know. And I really never went back and played the other seasons after that. I'm going to soonish because I have the definitive edition on PS4, so I'm gonna play through the whole series, get that platinum trophy at the end, and then I'm gonna play through all of them again, get platinum on the separate games by themselves. I know PBD's over there like, yes, do it. So be on the lookout for that. It's gonna be coming up here soon. But the Daryl game, we're not gonna talk about that one. That game just was awful. Like, how do you go from a really great movie tie-in game of Ghostbusters? Now, here's the thing with the tie-in games. A lot of tie-in games came out when the movies came out at the same time. The only ones that I know of that were actually decent was probably the Jurassic Park games, and even those had their flaws. Like Jurassic Park on Genesis had some moments where the jump just didn't connect and you fell straight into the thing and you were dead. Jurassic Park on the SNES was a long drawn-out game that had no save points. And then you had the sequel to Jurassic Park on SNES, which was very fun. But a lot of these other movie tie-in games just Last Action Hero, oh my god, what were you thinking? That the movie's awesome, but the game, I just can't get past the first level. It's so bad, it's horrible. I think a lot of them, it was just trying to get those games out at the same time of the movie because they wanted to promote the game and the movie at the same time. But Ghostbusters, Scarface, Godfather, there's another one that recently came out that was basically a super late tie-in to the movies. But those games, and a lot of people said, oh, it's a movie tie-in. I said, yeah, from a movie that came out 30 years ago. So it's not directly tied. It's not going to be bad because it's not being rushed out the door to promote the movie that came out 30 years ago. So the Ghostbusters game is actually technically the third movie. It takes place after the second movie, and there's a lot of references to both movies, and it's basically a storyline that was original and counts as a third movie, but your character doesn't talk throughout the entire game. So you're around all the other Ghostbusters. And I played that game, Xbox 360, 100%ed it, 1000% or 1000 gamer score. No, I didn't because there's multiplayer trophies. I am going to platinum the remaster, but it's one of those games that I just got everything. I collected everything. I played it, beat it, and 90% deleted it.
90% delete something.
I don't know. Played it, 90%, beat it, deleted. No, I didn't delete it, but it's a fun game. I really enjoyed it. And then Scarface was another one that came out years after the movie, and it takes place after the first, not after the only Scarface movie. It takes place after that. And I remember a lot of people saying, well, this is a GTA Vice City game. And I said, well, what do you think Vice City's based off of? It's literally Scarface.
Yeah.
Like, because I remember telling somebody, and he's like, we already have a Scarface game. It's called Vice City. I'm like, yes. And Vice City's based on what? But yeah, those games, Godfather was great too. Godfather actually, runs parallel with the game. So there's a lot of stuff. Basically, you're like in the game, you're basically a side character that is in the background that you never see in the movies. So like when one of the characters gets whacked in a restaurant, he's like the side character in the background behind the window, and that's who your character is. So that was pretty funny. But it's a good game. It's a very good game. It's basically a GTA. It's set in the 40s or 30s whenever Godfather takes place, and then you also have other movie tie-in games that are fantastic, such as Alien Isolation, which got bad reviews. I don't know why. People were just saying the game was too hard, but it took that essence and captured what made the first movie scary and threw it into this game. It does get a little ridiculous at the end because there's a spot where there's just like aliens all over the place, and you're like, what the? Okay, so it's alien or aliens? I'm confused because if I'm gonna play aliens, I'll play Colonial Marines and be pissed off. Uh, no, I mean, that game has some moments too, but I enjoyed it as well. But yeah, I feel like when a movie tie-in game comes out years after the movie's already been out, it doesn't really count as being a bad movie tie-in, if that makes sense. It's only the
Yeah.
ones that come, and you really don't see a lot of licensed games coming out years after or right when the movie comes out. If they do, like the last one I saw was probably Iron Man 3, and it released on mobile. So it released on mobile, and it was a mobile game. So I was like, okay, it's free. I'm not paying $60 for a game that's broken and gonna annoy me or anything like that. Um, I will tell you two other games that came out a couple years apart from each other, and this is it started as a movie tie-in, and then it turned into its own series, which is 007. You had GoldenEye, and James Bond's been around forever. Like the first GoldenEye or first James Bond game was probably on one of those really old systems that was around before we were even born.
Yeah.
Not Nintendo, but the stuff before Nintendo. But GoldenEye was the biggest one that everybody knows and loves. And that game came out 2 years after the movie did. So the movie came out in 95, gaming came out in 97. It was supposed to be a launch title for the N64, but they had a lot of trouble getting some development stuff done. So it turned into a title that came out 2 years after. Same thing with Tomorrow Never Dies, came out 2 years after the movie. World Is Not Enough came out actually a year after that movie did. And that was not a good movie or a good game at all. So just keep that in mind. But then James Bond just turned into its own thing. Like they were supposed to do World Is Not Enough on PlayStation 2, but then they shifted it into a different game altogether, and they just started making, because at that time I think Die Another Day there was no James Bond movies out. Like we had a gap from 2002 to 2006 of no James Bond movies. So they're like, well, what do we do? We have this license for another some odd years. Let's just make our own games. And that's what happened with Agent Under Fire, Nightfire, Everything or Nothing. Then they did From Russia with Love, which is basically a tie-in to a movie that came out in the 60s. All right. And then they stopped doing James Bond and started making Dead Space. So, yeah, not every movie tie-in game is bad, if you ask me. There are a lot more good ones than bad ones, I think, but there are some pretty bad ones. Like everything from LJN is the absolute worst. Don't even touch it. Don't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. Unless it's Maximum Carnage, don't touch it. That's what
Like you said, they get that more time to actually produce the game and make a good story and everything like that. And then when the movie comes out, they can always add a little bit more that ties in with that movie, the couple years later when they release it. So it does give you a little bit better, I guess, time and play through with it. But it just really depends on, like, you don't know if it's going to sell good after that because then the hype is gone for that movie. So it's really up in the air when it comes to the actual producers and the video game companies, if they actually want to do that. Because I know a lot of that stuff gets on the chopping block, and they're like, well, no one's talking about this anymore. Like, we'll just nixay that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, and I meant to bring this up earlier, but X-Men Origins Wolverine and X-Men 2 Wolverine's Revenge, so two different Wolverine games that came out with two different X-Men movies, did not start as a movie tie-in. So Wolverine's Revenge started as a completely separate title by itself, and then Fox was like, hey, why don't you tie it into our movie? And it became X-Men 2 or X2 Wolverine's Revenge, with Wolverine being voiced by Luke Skywalker. It sounds weird. I listened to it, I'm like, you just sound like a gruffy, angry Luke Skywalker to me, that's all. But then you had X-Men Origins Wolverine. Now, I know you've played it, PBD, but have you played X-Men Origins Wolverine's, or not Wolverine's, the Uncaged Edition Mittens on PS3 and 360? Okay, so this is a God of War style game. And it is violent. It is, because most movie tie-ins were not known for being heavily violent like that, but it is so violent. And then when you start the game, you're like, this opening cutscene really has nothing to do with the movie at all. That is because it was supposed to be a completely different game. It wasn't supposed to be tied in at all. The company, who was it? Raven, the formerly guys who are now working on Call of Duty because Activision, they were working on another separate game, and then Fox again, being the way they are, was like, "Hey, tie this into our movie." So they had to go back and basically retool a lot of stuff and make it more movie based on the X-Men Origins. So that movie tie-in game is better than the entire movie itself. I enjoyed every minute of that game, just slicing and dicing and cutting people up. And what was cool about it was when Wolverine's getting attacked, you see like chunks of his skin just missing on his ribs and stuff. And then you sit there for a little bit and you watch it just heal, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. I did 100% that game on Xbox, but I'm going to 100% it on PlayStation to make our guest here very happy. I started it, I mean, because like I said, I beat it on Xbox, but then I started on PS3, so I was like, there's a reason for me to play this again because I want to get that platinum, even though it won't show up on my PS4. It will, but it won't show up in the app or anything like that. PBD, your thoughts?
On you getting a platinum? Yeah.
No. Just on movie tie-in games in general. Other than Wolverine, have you played any other ones that, because Marvel had a lot in the beginning. They had Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man, but after that, Sega was like, nah, no more.
Tie-in games, I mean, that it's really hard for me to remember one individual game if I've played it or not because I have way too many.
Yeah.
So Wolverine, I remember that one stuck out. And then I remember there was a trophy for beating it on the hardest difficulty, and that's of course the first thing that reminds me of that because I worked hard to get that. Thank you very much. Oh gosh. I'm over here looking at my stacks of games, like that's gonna help. Any other movie tie-in? Oh, I have a Terminator game from PS3, and I can't remember which one.
Not Resistance, Retribution.
I think it was Salvation.
Oh, Terminator Salvation. Yeah, that was the fourth movie. That one was good. Oh no, I didn't play Salvation. I played Dawn of Fate and Terminator 3, which were both very good movie. Dawn of Fate is not actually tied into a movie. It takes place before the first movie, and then Terminator 3 obviously is a tie-in, and it's actually a fairly good game. It was not that bad. A lot of people crapped on it because the movie wasn't that good, but the game was fun. And then Resistance on PS5 is fun too. Again, takes place before the first movie, so it's really awesome. I like the movie tie-ins that are not based on the actual movies.
But what about
stayed pretty close to the movie? But I did not care for the gameplay.
It was an easy platinum, I heard.
Yeah, it's 12 trophies, 11 gold, and then your platinum. So it's a hefty game trophy-wise if you're looking for points.
Basically, just beat the game, right?
On the hardest difficulty. You have to do the whole thing on the hardest difficulty. Which, it's not hard.
Yeah.
The thing is, cover doesn't work.
No.
You will get shot through cover and destroyed through cover. They will spawn on top of you and kill you. Yeah, so that was frustrating.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of glad they don't make any more any tie-in games because they wouldn't sell well these days. They do them more as mobile games now than anything. And I know it's not related to anything, but people were mad about Avengers not looking like the characters in the movies, and it was like, yeah, but this is not an Avengers movie game, it's an Avengers game, and we'll talk about that one later, but I had some issues with that too.
I have another one. I haven't played any of these because I'm a little too young, probably. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games. Okay, and they had movies.
Yeah, but the games were based more on the cartoon than anything.
Okay.
So I believe, well, honestly, you had the comic book first, which is, I'm trying to remember. I'm not big on the Turtles, and I know all three of these things happened at the same time. So I think the comic was first.
I think I have a comic.
Then the movie. Let me. I might have it all backwards, but I know there was a graphic novel that released first.
Okay.
So there was a graphic novel that released first where it was very violent, and that's what the movies are more based on. Yeah, so that is the cartoon. cartoon, I believe.
And then Escape from Dimension
Go
X.
ahead and talk for a minute. I'm gonna look this up and see just in case. I want to make sure I got my facts right here.
From these books? Okay, so
Yeah.
definitely they're adapted from a story by David Weiss and Patty Howarth. So it's more of like the kids version. So it's not even it's definitely the cartoon because you can tell by the character drawing in it. It looks pretty much just like the cartoon.
Okay, so if I'm looking at this correctly and getting this correct, the graphic
They're so
novel
cute.
was released way before the cartoon and movie. Where's the Wikipedia page? That usually helps me. But I know that the comic book was first because I remember people talking about how violent the comic book was, the graphic novel, and then it released in cartoon form. Then the movie
Yeah.
came out, and the movie was kind of sort of more like the cartoon and less like it was half and half. It was part gritty because of the comic book, but it was also part kid friendly because of the cartoon, and they wanted kids to go watch the movie. And then everything after that, game wise, is all based on the cartoons. You don't have any
Okay.
any games or anything that is based on the graphic novel because it was just way too violent. They basically killed people in that one, from what I remember correctly. And if anybody in the comments wants to let us know what it was like, because I'm looking here and it says 1986, 1984 was when the first volume came out, was in 86. Yeah, long time ago. This book is as old as me. But yeah, then you got the Cowabunga collection coming out, which is all those old classic Ninja Turtles games from the 90s.
They're hard.
Most of them have been delisted from like Xbox Live Arcade. I still have one on the arcade, but this collection, I'm like, you know what? As much I didn't really like Ninja Turtles too much outside of the movies, so I'm definitely going to play this. For my retro nights and everything over on Twitch, I'm going to play these games. But yes, they are difficult, and I know a lot of people love those games. There's some in there that I never got to play, like was it Turtles in Time? I think I never got to play. Tournament Fighters is one that's in there, and that was a horrible fighting game, but I'm gonna play it anyways because I rented it from Blockbuster one day, and we're like, oh, let's play it. It's like Mortal Kombat. Oh no, it's not. It sucks.
Oh my god, you said Blockbuster. It made me feel so good inside.
Oh, I found my Blockbuster card the other day in a box. I was like, you guys want to see a fossil? A relic? There actually is one Blockbuster still around in Oregon, in Bend, Oregon, where Days Gone takes place. So that's pretty cool. It's called The Last Blockbuster Ever. You can buy shirts there. But any more video game movies that good or bad that we want to talk about? And then see, we got Prince of Persia here. Ugh.
Yeah, there's one thing I didn't write up here. And I haven't watched it. Was it Interplayer One?
Oh, Ready Player One?
Ready Player One. So that's one of the movies.
Great.
I haven't seen it yet.
I enjoyed that one. A lot of cameos. It's basically what people were saying with Space Jam 2 with Warner Brothers characters, but Ready Player One has a lot of game character cameos. And he actually there's a second one being made, I believe. I think they read the book first, but there's a second one being made.
How is it close to the book?
I've never read the book, so I'm not sure, but I've heard it. Yeah,
no.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people who saw it said no. But PBD, your thoughts and comparisons on the movie, from the book to the movie, how does it compare? What did you feel?
Okay, so the book and the movie have like nothing to do with each other, which is fantastic. I mean, like you have like your basic plot kind of in the background, but from what you see in the movie versus what you read about in the book, not the same at all. So that's why I feel like the movie is actually more enjoyable because you're seeing all these references. So that really adds to it compared to the book where you're just reading about descriptions of things that are happening. And it's like, okay, well, it takes a little bit more brain power here, but I mean, the visual aspect really made a huge difference in that one for me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. And there's even characters that aren't even video game. Well, I guess you could say, but King Kong shows up at one point, and I'm like, what's King Kong doing here? And you see him in the trailers too, so it's not really spoiling anything. But there's a lot of game characters, and there's a lot of stuff that isn't game related in the movie. Like one spot in particular in the middle of the movie, I was like, okay, we gotta I'll just say it's related to Stephen King. That's all I will say. I was like, okay, interesting. But it was a good movie. The last time I saw a movie like that, video game wise, with a lot of cameos, was Wreck-It Ralph. I haven't seen the second one, but I did love the first one. And what was funny about that was it was another situation where, have y'all seen Wreck-It Ralph?
Yes.
Okay, so the
Yes,
part where
I've
he's
seen
looking
it.
through the box after he goes to the Bad Guys Anonymous or whatever, he's looking through the box and he's just pulling out different items like the mushroom, the Pac-Man fruit, and then he pulls out the exclamation point and it makes the Metal Gear Solid sound. I was like, oh my god, they did it! And other people were like, huh? And I'm like, y'all don't understand. Y'all don't understand. And I hear that noise, that sound on TikTok all the time. So like my wife will be watching TikTok videos and I'll hear it. I was like, uh-oh, somebody just got spotted. And she's like, what? And I said, never mind.
There's also Free Guy. I didn't watch it personally. I think it's on Netflix.
Disney Plus.
My Disney Plus. My husband watched it and he's like, he didn't like it at all.
I'm not a
But
big, outside of Deadpool, I'm not a big Ryan Reynolds fan. Like, I've seen some of his movies, but honestly, other than Deadpool 1 and 2, I've never seen one all the way through. I mean, I'll watch his X-Files episode all day because it's about witches and stuff, but I saw the trailers and I'm like, I'll watch it if I feel like it.
So I had very, very low expectations going
Right.
into that movie, and it was actually pretty amusing. There's a lot of little. You would probably like all the Easter eggs in the background, Matt.
Probably, yeah. I'm one of those
There's
people.
a lot. Uh, there's some very cringy parts, some extremely cheesy parts, but it's more like I'll watch it and I just start cackling because I
Right.
can't, and then I'm just like, I can't.
Right.
It's so amusing. I love it.
Now, I know it was directed by the guy that did Thor Ragnarok and Love and Thunder. So he's actually in the movie. I saw him in the trailer, but it also has Steve from Stranger Things. I'm like, okay, I like that actor. So there's a lot of good actors in the movie, but I'm like, I don't really feel like watching this in theaters. I'll wait for it to come to a streaming service, but it's on Disney Plus because it is technically a Fox movie and they're not owned by Disney. So, it makes sense. But yeah, I'm one of those people, PBD, where it's like the references in the background are what get me the most. And I just flip the hell out. And usually if my wife was with me and she sees one too that she recognizes, she'll give me the elbow in the theater, like, because she knows I do it to her. But yeah, sometimes movies, they have too many characters like that it can be good or bad if there's a lot of cameos and game characters and stuff. Wreck-It Ralph, I feel like, was pretty enjoyable because they didn't have too many. You saw Sonic at one point, and then you saw the zombie from House of the Dead 2, and you saw Zangief and M. Bison, I believe, was in the little meeting. So they didn't go too crazy with cameos in that movie. When they did, it was all at the beginning of the movie. They didn't try and throw them out here and there throughout the rest of the movie. So it was very interesting. They had their own characters in that movie. Another one I haven't seen, but I have not heard good things, is Assassin's Creed. Love the games, but I heard the movie was absolute garbage, and I was told never to watch it.
I was too, so I didn't.
Yeah, I have it. I own it, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this one.
No.
I don't want to. Oh, another good.
PBD looks like she watched it.
What are your thoughts
No.
before? No? Okay.
I don't like it at all. And I've played every single Assassin's Creed game up until Valhalla. No.
Valhalla's a
Don't.
beast. Valhalla is a beast. I am still trying to get through that game. I've started it over at least once because I was like, I want to do a playthrough of this, and it's just one of those games. I'm like, ugh.
It's so good.
I was gonna install it, and so that I recently got a storage upgrade, which is like anti PlayBeat delete, because now I have more space to install more things.
Install beat delete, or install play. Beat delete.
Maybe delete at some point.
That's me, and delete at some point.
But now I have this thing called space.
Yeah.
Which means I can afford to install it and play it, and I'm like, oh no, everything's gonna get pushed back to the side again.
Yeah, not that bad. Like so y'all know I record my videos here and there, and I'm starting to do a lot of what was taking up my time with that was recording the gameplay and stuff. So like my last two review videos were actually live. I recorded the intro, said, hey guys, today we're talking about blah 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 game. Played about 8 minutes of, and I was telling PBD this before you popped in before the show, Mittens, but I played about 8 minutes of Blazing Chrome, and then I did my final thoughts. I said that's enough time to, decide if I like the game or not. I don't want to play through the whole game. We'll talk about that in our YouTube versus Twitch episode. But one other movie tie-in game that I want to talk about, series at least, before we wrap it up and everything, was the Indiana Jones games. I know I mentioned it before, but Bethesda, but they have had some very solid games in that series. They had a Star Wars. There's a ton of Star Wars games, and if y'all follow my Twitter, this week is going to be Game of the Day Star Wars edition. It was very hard to choose which games because I have so many Star Wars games, but I will tell you, Knights of the Old Republic is in there, and Bounty Hunter is in there, and one of the absolute hardest games from SNES is in there too. So I picked the ones that I enjoyed the most, but I'm going to have to get some more later on at a later date. But they had some very solid Star Wars games when LucasArts was working on them. Indiana Jones had some great games. You had the SNES game. You had the N64 game, which was a Zelda / Tomb Raider clone ripoff kind of deal. I never played through that one the whole way through. And then you had the Xbox original Indiana Jones game, which was fantastic. And then after that, they kind of just stopped caring about the character, LucasArts, and they started focusing more on Star Wars. And the reason the 360 game got canceled is because they had to focus all their efforts on Force Unleashed, which, if you ask me, I'd rather have an Indiana Jones game, to be honest. But those are two movies that had really great, they had more good than bad games. A lot of their bad games were probably in the early 90s, like Star Wars Chess, but other than that, they had some fantastic Star Wars games late in the PS2 days. And then once EA took over, you're just like, ugh. You gave us one Battlefront game. It stunk. You gave us another Battlefront game, which had a decent storyline. You gave us... And then after that, who was it that made... Was it Respawn that did Jedi Fallen Order? And they were like, look, no microtransactions. Stay away from our game. So there's no microtransactions. And that game is awesome. And then Squadrons came out, which was kind of a just Rogue Squadron type game. I didn't really play much of it because, as I told you, Mittens, I can't stand the flight controls in that game. It's like up is down, down is up, and I'm just like, I'm getting dizzy trying to figure out where I'm going. Can't you just make it like Lego Star Wars, which is fantastic? I will talk about it again real quick. It's awesome. Play it. Love it. Cherish it. That's about it. I haven't played it since we last talked. I've been playing other stuff. What did I play? Platinum Mass Effect 2. And I'm working on... I played a little bit of Halo Infinite the other day. And I have not watched the show yet. PBD, your thoughts on Halo? Because we've heard Mitten's thoughts on Halo.
I love it.
Love it. That's all.
I love it.
She's actually playing through the games right now, Mittens. She started with Halo 1, right? You said?
Yep.
So she's going through the games as well. So
Same.
I am jealous of both of y'all because you get to play them both for the first time, and I played them both for the first time like so many years ago when I started Halo, and I'm getting through it.
Have you read the books yet, too? Okay, so I want to go through all the games, and then I want to read the books. But of course, I'm watching the show, but that's pre-everything. So it's like, it's not going to really mess up too much of anything that I'm doing. But I haven't seen the episode for this week. I don't know why. I've been sick and stuff, so I haven't had time. But I definitely want to at least see it tonight. So no spoilers, but I'm really enjoying this series at all, and you have to watch it, Matt.
Now, has it ended for the season? Because I'm one of those people that likes to watch stuff and binge it at the same time instead of going through episode by episode. The only time I did that was when I watched the Mighty Ducks on Disney Plus. I watched that live every single week, but other than that, I like to binge my shows so that I'm not having that, oh my god, I gotta wait another week for the next episode and what's gonna happen. We do that with 911, and I'm like, oh my god, you ended on a cliffhanger. I gotta wait another week to find out what happened. So
I'll look that up for you.
How many?
Real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how many episodes is it? Because most of these
there's gonna be 10.
10, and how many are there?
And it's
now?
on this. This is the 6th one this past week.
So I could probably start it and be caught up by the time I hit episode 10. You know what? I might see if Julia wants to watch it too.
Watch the first
she might
one.
not. It might be a me and me only thing.
Yeah, the first episode's the longest one.
Yeah. Because she doesn't want to watch Peacemaker.
Oh, God.
Peacemaker. I'm thinking of Metal Gear Solid over here. Peacemaker, because I enjoyed the Suicide Squad movie. But Any other movies that you guys want to bring up real quick? I know we have
Well,
World of Warcraft on here, which I've never played the game, so I didn't know what to expect for the movie. I
I
didn't
played
watch the
it
movie.
a second. Like I only played it for like a second, and then I was just like, I'd rather play Final Fantasy 14 like online instead of WoW. But
Yeah.
what did you think? Well, I know PBD had a little bit about on Halo. What do you think about the series?
Uh, wish more would come out at once because I just want to keep watching it. At this point, I'm this close just to restarting from the beginning for 1 through 6 while waiting for the next episode to come. But oh my god, it's amazing! Like they composed myself.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching, I'm like, holy crap! They were able to do this, and the armor looks amazing, and the combat choreography thing is amazing, and I love it, and the effects, and yeah,
I was so happy to see the grunts last week. Like I was like, there's grunts running around.
Grunts. There's a funny line of dialogue in Halo Infinite. I haven't found it, but I saw it on Twitter, and there's a grunt talking, and he says, "Does anybody know where I can find an Xbox Series X? I'm really trying, but they're out of stock at the stores." I was like, even they're making fun of the low shortage and low stock in the game. Now have you guys got? Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna go on to the next topic, but you're still talking about Halo. So
I was going to say, have you guys gotten to the our good old friends, the Flood, yet? No, not yet. Oh, have fun.
Thank goodness, because I hate them.
Have fun. Have fun, because they will not. They light spoiler, but they do not go away. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Flood in the games, I'm already through that, and I know about them and the karate chopping Squidwards and stuff like that. Like,
so good.
Make me panic. Yeah, they make me panic. So
have fun in the library, PBD. That's all I gotta say.
Oh god.
I can't imagine what they're gonna do with the show.
Yeah.
When they finally introduce them, it's going to be horrifying.
I don't think it'll be this season. It'll probably be like next season, because right now this season is just a setup to the whole show as a whole. God dang it! You know what? I should watch it today. I said it last week. I should watch it today. Just get it out of the way, get it going. Because a lot of times TV shows are completely different from games. No, it's the same as games. I'll start them and then I won't finish them for like 3 or 4 years, because I'm still on season 7 of The Flash, and I haven't watched it since they did Crisis on Infinite Earths when Arrow ended. And that was around the time everything started happening where they shut down a lot of production. So I was like, okay, the show is on hold right now. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it until it comes back. So still caught up. I'm not caught up on The Flash, but it's rumored to be ending next year. So I'll just wait for it to end and catch up that way. But
there is another movie. At least I watched both of them. That's also based on a video game. I never played the video game, but Blood Rain.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the movies. I kind of liked the first movie. I hated that they changed the actress in the second one and just like totally didn't bring it.
Kristanna Loken in the first one, I believe, who was the TX from Terminator 3. Now, from what I've heard, the Blood Rain movies, I think they're made by Uwe Boll. I'm gonna talk about
They're not good.
I'm gonna talk about that fool in just a minute on his craptastic movies. But the Blood Rain movies I heard were not the best, and I heard the games were okay-ish for the time. I watched a review on the revamp collection or the remasters and everything. And they said, going to it expecting a game from 2002, so that's not a problem. I'm like, yeah, most of these remasters and stuff that I play are games from so many years ago. But Uwe Boll, or whatever his name is, he's made House of the Dead, Far Cry, Postal, all awful movies. I didn't see anything past House of the Dead, because when I started watching that movie, I was like, oh, House of the Dead, I love the games. When they shoot the zombies, I am not joking. They took footage from the game, and that's them shooting the zombies. And I'm like, what is this crap? And me and my friend rented it. We're like, what? We're taking this back. We're going to rent something else. This movie sucks. And we watched probably 30 minutes of it. And I kid you not, when they shoot the zombies, it is footage of the games. And I'm like, oh, this is awful. And they made 3 of those movies. How? I don't know. But the other ones actually are watchable because they are actual zombies. It's more of a Sci-Fi Channel movie. I think they were made for Sci-Fi Channel, so it was that kind of quality, but not Sharknado quality. So that's one of the list of bad video game movies that.
but aren't there like 5 Sharknado movies now?
There's like 6 of them.
Oh god!
Why?
I think there's 1, 2, 3, The fourth Awakens, and then I forget what the fifth one's called, and I think there's the last one's just called Sharknado, the final one,
Good.
or the last one or something. But there's a lot of them.
There's too many.
There was like 6 too many.
I've only seen the first one. And the thing is, I love crappy movies like that, but that movie was just, ooh, buddy, that was bad.
Yeah.
Let's see, how many Sharknadoes do we have here? Just real quick. I think there's 5.
Yeah, like that. 5 too many.
I
That
think
was
there's
just a
5.
weird.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
There's
The
6
last,
too many.
it's called The Last Sharknado. So there's 6 of them. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, too many.
I mean, I used to watch those kind of movies back in high school when it was like Saturday night crap fest on Sci-Fi Channel. It was just but their quality was a little bit better. This one was just like, they made something in like Microsoft Paint or something and turned it 3D. And it's like, ugh.
But in the first one isn't that bad. Like it doesn't use CG or anything like that. It's pretty good. Like the story behind it, you can tell definitely came from the lore of the video games. Because I did do research after the fact. I was like, oh my gosh, this is based off a video game. That's pretty freaking cool. And so I went in. And, yeah, and I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome.
I knew what Blood Rain was. I just never played it, and I pre-ordered the 2 remasters on limited run games so that I can get the physical edition. Same with Blood Rain Fresh Bits, because I had Fresh Bits on or Fresh Bites, I think is what it's called. I have it on the Xbox because it was a free game one time, or it was like dirt cheap one time, and I bought it when it was doing the backwards compatible thing. And I said, okay, this is fun. So I never got to play the originals, and you really can't find them very much. I can't find them anywhere. So I'm like, well, if these remasters coming out, I might as well just get those instead and play them. But yeah, and the actor Kristana Loken, I think she went on to play in a movie based on Painkiller, but I could be thinking of something different, and it was called Painkiller Jane. I don't think it was related to the games at all, but similar thing, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, some movies based on games are, they don't have to rely heavily on the CGI, look at Mario. They didn't have a lot of CGI in that movie. They were supposed to make a second one, but the first one did so poorly that they were like, nope, we're not touching it. And then you look at Mortal Kombat Abomination. Sorry, I got the name wrong again. Annihilation. And it's nothing but green screens. And it's just, we don't talk about that movie. I refuse to talk about that movie. It's so bad. I was so excited, and I watched it. I'm like, ugh, what was that?
I don't want to leave anything out, like Batman. Of course, there's many Batman video games and many Batman movies and shows.
A lot of the Batman games are hit or miss, though. Obviously, you got the Arkham series, which is fantastic, but then a lot of stuff before that was very, very hit or miss. Obviously, Batman 1989 was great. Batman Returns was awesome on the SNES. But Batman Forever, Batman and Robin is not a good movie at all, and the games are equally as bad. But the Batman Forever games were awful, but the movie was watchable. I enjoyed the Batman Forever movie. I just did not like the games, except for the arcade one. The arcade one was fun. But another one was Batman and Robin on the Genesis. Hard as hell game. I don't think you can actually beat that game without cheating and skipping levels or using a game genie or something, because I couldn't even get past the first damn level, and that game is so difficult. But that's based on a cartoon, so that was a good one. And then kind of in between, you had some games here and there that were just not good. And I think they had Batman on the PS2 was Batman Vengeance, and then the Rise of Zai or Revenge of Zai or something, which were actually decent games. And then you have Superman 64. Sorry.
I heard that one was pretty bad. One of my buddies who only plays like retro games, he was playing that as one of the nights that his community had voted on. And yeah, it was pretty bad just to watch it being played
like that. The higher ups, the whole situation of screwing the game up. It was supposed to have a lot more in it, and then just the studio had money issues and stuff, and it just turned into what we got. And there is an actual good game based on the Superman cartoon on PS2 that was pretty enjoyable. It's basically what Superman 64 was supposed to be, but better. Way better. So yeah, there's a lot. I mean, comic books have movie tie-ins and game
superheroes
tie-ins as well.
In general.
Superheroes, they have TV shows as well, like we said. It's just so many. There are so many things. We may have to. I mean, if we can, we may have to bring this back. Maybe talk about a
like
bunch of other
MCU in general, like its
yeah
own episode.
yeah because there's so much to talk about and there's so little time to
Yeah,
to bring it up.
yeah.
I will say one more, not necessarily a movie tie-in, but came out around the same time as the movie, was Prince of Persia. You had the movie, which was okay. I enjoyed it for what it was, but will I watch it again? Probably not. They did have a game come out that same year called The Forgotten Sands, or as we used to call it at GameStop, The Frog Sands, because the title was cut in half on the sticker. So it said P.O. Prince of Persia Frog Sands, or Forg Forgotten Sands, and it was cut in half. But that was actually a sequel to the first game. So you had Prince of Persia 1, 2, 3 on PS2 and Xbox, but this was a sequel to the very first game because they wanted to retcon and forget that those other two games happened. Even though I enjoyed Warrior Within and Two Thrones, they wanted to forget those games existed. I don't know why. I guess people didn't like them that much. Splinter Cell is supposed to be getting a movie, I think. Or was, never happened. I don't know. I remember there's a movie trailer on one of the games that says coming summer 2000 whatever, and it never happens. Probably for the best.
Probably.
Metal Gear Solid's getting a movie though. Sorry, I just gotta say that.
Did you want to go over any of the subreddits, things that we have about the same conversation about video games and movies and adaptations? Or
Sure. Yeah, if you got anything, let's
yeah. The first one, and of course, definitely, I'm gonna ask PBD first before we actually go into the conversation on the Reddit streams. Which video game should be turned into a film that has not?
The Okay, so this is a game that was supposed to have a movie, and it went through development hell. It got canceled. It was going to be turned to a movie again, went through development hell, got canceled. Passed hands to a different director. They wanted to work on it. They couldn't agree on casting. Just scrapped it. And now supposedly Netflix is thinking about picking it up. But I mean, with everything that's going on with Netflix, they could scrap it too because nobody cares about it. And that would be the BioShocks.
Ooh, yeah.
I feel like you wouldn't want to tell the same story as the game because your interactions with the world shape how you feel about the ending. So I feel like they could have gone a little further back and talk about more of the fall of Rapture because the only way you get to experience that as a player is through the audio diaries and through everything that's already been destroyed. Well, what did it look like before, like in its prime? And then as it had that sharp decline at the end. That's what I want to see. And I think that would make a really good show.
Ooh, that does sound very interesting. What about you, Matt?
Let's see.
Let me look at my wall of games.
Ooh, Alan Wake could make a good movie. But it's already kind of a movie in itself when you think about it, but I feel like that can make a really good movie. Let me see what else. Control. Good Max Payne. Hold on, I'm thinking. I think like Onimusha could be a good movie, but then I'm not sure. I'd say Dino Crisis, but we already have Jurassic Park. Maybe like Devil May Cry or something. Now, yeah, I mentioned Metal Gear Solid is getting made into a movie, and I'm a little nervous about that at the same time because of how the track record of video game movies. I'm like, oh god. But Oscar Isaacs is in it, so I have a little bit of faith because Moon Knight, Poe Dameron, he's a really good actor, so I have faith if he's in it. I think he's playing Solid Snake. If he's in it, it might actually do better. As for a movie or game based on a movie that hasn't been turned into one yet, let me think. Oh, Red Dead Redemption can be a good one.
Oh.
We haven't had a good Western in a while.
Nah, I don't know when the last time we had a Western was, but
I know.
I guess back to PBD, if they do a BioShock Infinite movie, who would you cast as Booker DeWitt?
As Booker DeWitt. Oh my god. There's a lot of choices here. Hold on. I would have to look up their name because I don't like screwing up people's names.
Well, they also in this thread, they did talk about BioShock. Of course, they wanted that turned into a movie. They didn't specify exactly how they want it. Like you want the pre to the games,
Yeah.
like the prequel. They didn't really specify, but there's definitely many upvotes for that. Legend of Zelda was one. I find that pretty interesting because there's way too many storylines that
Yeah.
you could choose from,
end
considering
up-
the lore.
And they would end up probably dabbling in a lot of them and then just confusing people who aren't familiar with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
it's
why this
funny.
one was what they want to specify a whole series, timeline, just one game. Like, what do you want? Because there's way too much.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Zelda because there's that fake Netflix trailer that's been popping up for like the last 10 years, and it's just. I remember I saw it. I was like, "Oh, this is cool." Oh, April Fools. Oh, it's fake. There
They
is going to
gotcha.
be actually. I take that back. There is going to be a Devil May Cry series on Netflix. It's going to be anime. It's the same people that worked on the Castlevania series, and they're actually making a new Castlevania series that's going to be based around Richter Belmont. So I am wondering and hoping that this is going to lead into Symphony of the Night, because Richter was only in 2 games. He was in Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night. If it leads into that, that is going to be awesome because there's so much they can do with that whole game itself. Can be a great series, because if you watch the original Castlevania series, it was based on 3 Dracula's Curse, revolved around that game. So this is going to be probably revolved around Rondo and Symphony of the Night, which would be awesome. Don't make
Looks like
don't make a movie. They were gonna make
yeah.
a Castlevania movie, and it's gonna be Paul Anderson. I was like, please, God, no, keep him away from my video game movies. I actually
Yeah.
booed him at a Comic Con one time. He didn't hear me
Oh,
because we were in a crowd. I was like, everybody's like, woo! I'm like, boo! I didn't like
looks
him.
like PBD may have found her actor.
No, I have not.
No,
I have
you're
not.
still looking.
There's too many choices.
Okay, I'll make it easy. What's his name?
Like
Oh
I
my
said,
God, I'm drawing a blank. What's the voice actor's name of Booker? Troy Baker. There we go.
Troy Baker.
Troy Baker. Just have him do
Of
it.
course, it's Troy Baker.
Just have him do it.
Just have him do it. I met him. He's a really, really cool dude. He's awesome. I love him. I went up to him and I said, "You're fucking awesome." He goes, "You're fucking awesome." I said, "Take that, breathtaking Keanu Reeves." No, this was years before the Keanu Reeves thing, but yeah, he was a really cool dude. And I had the chance to meet Master Chief and Cortana, but their line was a mile long. I was like, nope, I'm not waiting in that.
No.
I could have met
they-
Chris Sabat, but I was like, nope. Line is like 500 people deep. I said, no, I'm not standing in that.
I wonder
No,
why.
because you probably won't even get there.
No,
You might
exactly.
be gone by the time you get
Exactly.
there.
I tried to meet Felicia Day one time, and her line. I was in her line, but she went away, and they're like, "Oh, she'll be back in an hour." I was like, oh, "I don't have time for this. Let's go." And I don't know if
Yeah.
she's ever gonna come back to that con. It's the one here in my town, but I was like, next time.
I
Next time
met
she's
Felicia today, and I geeked out with her about Mass Effect 2, so it was
here. Who was
fun.
she in Mass Effect 2?
No, we were talking about
Oh,
it,
in general.
Yeah, like we were like favorite video games came up, and then we both said Mass Effect 2 at the same time, and so yeah,
But
I just like lost my shit.
Ooh, this was a good one. The Last of Us.
TV
It
show.
could be a masterpiece or a movie.
Well, no,
They're doing
they're.
the series.
It's actually gonna be made into a TV show.
Yeah, but
HBO, right?
Yeah, HBO, and I think they were gonna do a movie at first, but then they were like TV show. Now
you can break it up.
it could very well be the next Game of Thrones if it's done correctly.
Yes.
My thing is, because I never read Game of Thrones, I never watched Game of Thrones, so I can't really compare do there, but I have played Last of Us. So my thing is, if Neil Druckmann is working on it, I know he's going to make sure that they do not screw this up. I wish Capcom had helped with Resident Evil, not Castlevania. I wish Capcom had helped Resident Evil more than they did, because maybe they would have been like, "What the fuck is this shit?" I feel like when you have somebody who's from the game working on the adaptation, they're going to make sure that it's done well. And Last of Us could be good. Now I'm hearing that it might only be like 2 seasons, because really my thing is, don't go past what your source material is already there right now. So you got 2 Last of Us games. Don't go past that. Don't try and go past that. Walking Dead, the only reason it was so long and it's still going on is because they had so many issues and they had so much source material to work with in that series. So you did it, but my problem with Walking Dead sometimes was they drifted too far away from some of the source material.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, you got too many damn filler episodes. Last of Us, if it's on HBO, because most of those seasons are very short from what I've heard. I heard Game of Thrones has some short seasons. Don't
Yes.
try and do a lot of filler. Try and fit as much as you can
Yeah.
in one episode without doing too much filler episodes. We don't want filler episodes. I hate filler episodes. They're not fun. They usually, unless it's like the X-Files, which is completely different because that's like Monster of the Week style stuff. And then they had their storylines, and then they had their Monster of the Week, and then they had their storylines again. So a lot of the storylines in the X-Files actually went into several seasons. Yeah, that's my thoughts on Last of Us. Don't try and overdo what you already have available to you.
But did I hear you say you never watched Game of Thrones?
Nope. And I know a lot of people were like, "What? You, of all people, have never watched Game of Thrones?" It's just I think part of the reason why is because when it started, I think I was working at GameStop, so I didn't have the chance to watch it. I could blame the fact that I didn't have DVR, but I did, which is one of the reasons I didn't watch a lot of good shows like Supernatural when they first started, because we did not have DVR. I know, PBD, before you say it, I know. I'm planning to watch it one day. It's just, that's a lot of seasons to catch up
Planning
on.
doesn't make it happen, now does it?
I know.
Yeah.
I'll see if the missus wants to watch it, because that's something that would be up her alley. She likes stuff like that, I believe. So that's like mystery, right? Mystery, solving mysteries, fighting monsters.
It's not really a mystery. None of it's a mystery. You
Well,
don't
they were
have
on
to figure out
Scooby-Doo.
anything, really.
They were on Scooby-Doo, solving a mystery with Shaggy and Scooby. What do you mean? No, I'm kidding.
There's only like one major mystery, and it's like
Yeah.
you kind of feel it the entire time you're watching it, but
Yeah.
then they tell you at the end of this like last season, you're like, yeah, and you're like, oh, makes sense.
I'll
But the
check
last
it out.
season,
I'll check it out. I
makes
mean, I
me
really
angry.
want to. It's just that was one of those shows where back in the day, I was like, I can't watch this because I had night classes, so I was unable to watch it on the night that it aired. And then I could have just rented the DVDs, but I didn't think about that.
I would have been mad if I watched it during the time that it was being released weekly.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it till recently, probably a year ago or something like that, so I could sit down and watch all of it and get everything in one go instead of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next week? Because I was not about that. That show is not like that. You need to be able to binge watch it.
Yeah, that's like, is it Walking Dead? My wife says she wants to start it over from the beginning because she stopped watching right before Negan showed up. And I just want to see her reaction when Negan does show up, because I watched the YouTube reaction of people and I was like, y'all didn't know what was going on. Yeah. Everybody, real quick on that show, everybody was like, oh, Rick's going to take him. I was like, Rick ain't going to do shit. So.
You talking about the scene where we're all on their knees?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that hurt my soul.
Yeah, when I read that in the comic, I literally threw the book across the room. I was like, you son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Kirkman, what the hell's wrong with you? Somebody told me beforehand, they're like, oh, I'm just kidding. I was like, I hope you're kidding, because if that's true, I'm going to be pissed. And when I read it, I was like, I'm holding the book, I'm like,
Rage.
hold on. Hold on. That didn't happen. No, that did happen.
Yeah. Did you find your actor?
Yes.
Yay!
Well, so look alone, yes. Acting skills need something to be desired. But
Okay.
Josh Duhamel
Ooh.
as Booker.
Yeah.
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 But
I mean, he's not bad.
Yeah, he's not bad. But I'm saying, like, as the role of Booker, who's, if for Infinite, I mean, Infinite's not terribly long. He doesn't really say a whole lot. I mean, you just have like a little bit of banter with the other characters, so it's not like a whole lot there. But yeah, I think look alone, that would work. For Elizabeth, since Elizabeth is a much more important role, I was actually between Summer Glau and Jessica Stroup.
I know Summer Glau, but I do not know who the other one is.
She's in Iron Fist, if you've watched it.
What was her name?
Jessica Stroup, Stroup.
Who did she play in Iron Fist? Because I don't remember that show very much.
She was Joy. Joy Meacham.
Hold on.
Look it up.
Look it up.
Let me see. Oh, Jurassic Park's distracting me on IMDb. And now I'm typing in Jurassic Park. Damn it.
Let's see. I'm going to go through another thread while you look that actress up. We already talked about, has there been any good movies based on video games? This one person said Silent Hill. as a
Sorry.
standalone movie.
Well,
As a standalone movie.
I saw what PBD was talking about, but yes,
What do you think of my
absolutely.
choice?
I forgot a lot about Iron Fist, so I need to go back and watch that again. Now it's on Disney Plus. Silent Hill.
And this person is basing it because they haven't played the video games, but they can relate to disappointed fans if it doesn't go along with the stories and doesn't give it justice. But as a standalone movie, they believe the horror in it was pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but the atmosphere, creepiness, good effects, the self-righteous religious sect was well done, fairly good acting. The only thing that was a problem for me are the little girls acting and the misuse of Sean Bean. So they, not knowing any background, so they thought Silent Hill was a good movie. I enjoyed the first Silent Hill movie.
Sean Bean didn't
But
die. He was supposed to die in the movie. What the hell? Oh, sorry. Spoilers. If y'all haven't seen
yeah,
it. No,
but they don't know that.
because Sean Bean dies in like every movie he's in, and Game of Thrones. I know that part at least. I have seen one episode of Game of Thrones. That's the first one. That's it. Because she wants to watch it too, so we'll check it out one day. But Silent Hill. Continue your thoughts. I have thoughts. I gotta gather mine.
Oh, for the first one or
movie.
the second one?
I didn't see the
Oh.
second one, so I only saw the first one. I mean,
second one.
I didn't. Did I say that right? I've only seen the first Silent Hill movie.
So the second one I think has the carnival in it.
Yeah, the second
do
one is
believe.
based. Okay, so from what I've seen in some of the trailers and stuff from the second Silent Hill, is that it takes a little bit of the first game because there is a spot where you get into you would find a carnival, or maybe that's the third one. It's been a while since I played this series. I that's gonna happen on YouTube as well, but I know that there was a carnival in one of the games, and it wasn't really a carnival. There was a Ferris merry-go-round in the first game. Yes, it was the first
Yeah.
game. Because Sybil, the cop in the first game, is in the first movie, in the first game, and she somehow gets corrupted at one point. Which I don't think they really covered in the movie. I don't remember because I watched the movie once and I was like, oh my God, what was that? What did I just watch? My one gripe about the movie was that Pyramid Head was in the first game.
Yeah.
First movie, and he doesn't show up until the second game.
Yeah.
And the second game is probably one of my favorite ones in the series, so I don't know why they didn't make a movie based around the second game. I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more, but yeah, I really don't remember a lot of the movies other than being very disappointed at the end. Yes, I will say the creatures and the atmosphere and the use of the music was awesome, but the movie itself was just, it's probably better for people who have not played the games. They would likely enjoy it a little bit more, but fans of the games, I could see where they didn't like a lot of what happened in the movies.
Yeah.
PBD,
One
have you
guy-
seen the Silent Hill
The
movies?
movies.
I've seen a movie, but I have not played the games, so I enjoyed the movie.
I
Yeah,
know
same.
Well, I know that PBD saw me playing the games on.
And that was really just Demon Children.
Yeah, I was stuck in the school for like an entire stream, and then my cat, when he was just a wee little baby, popped up for a cameo, and I started paying attention to him and less to the game because I was like, I'm stuck here. But I will play through the game again. I'll do it on easy mode though, so I don't get stuck with the Demon Children again. Oh, that level.
Here's a controversial one: Tomb Raider movies.
I've only seen one of them. I saw the first Angelina Jolie movie with a young Daniel Craig. I did not see the newest one because I heard I heard mixed reviews. Because that came out around the same time as Rampage, which was, I only watched it for The Rock. But Rampage was just a typical monster movie, so there's really no reason to say that it was bad compared to the games because the games had literally no story, so it's just monsters destroying a city. I enjoyed it for what it was, Rampage. It felt like a Godzilla / King Kong movie, but Tomb Raider, I didn't see the newest one. I heard, I think Pippa and Charlie, friends of the channel, they talked, or at least Pippa mainly because she's a Tomb Raider fan, but she said that she thought it was okay, but I hear people say the movie could have been better, the newest one, but I've only seen the first Angelina Jolie one.
PBD?
The movie could have been a lot better. They took a lot of influence from Tomb Raider, came out in 2013, I believe.
The reboot? Yeah.
Yeah, that one. They took a lot from that, and I felt like they could have gone more based on that, and it still would have like made sense to people who don't play video games, who don't understand. They don't not understand. They just don't play video games.
Yeah.
So they could have pretty much told that story in the same format, and instead, like, around 2/3 of the way through, they decide, yeah, we're not going to go that far. We're going to just reel it back and just keep it here. And I was not a fan of that.
I watched the first, Angelina Jolie was in 2
She was in
of
2 of them.
them.
She did
Yeah.
that one in Incredible Life, and she was supposed to do a 3rd one, but since the 2nd one didn't do well, they ended up not releasing it at all. Which is
Yeah,
what should
so
have happened with half those Resident Evil movies. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
the Tomb Raider movies, I think, with Angelina Jolie, since I saw them, I didn't see the newest one. They were okay by themselves,
They were very
but
2000s.
yes, they were very 2000s, so you definitely, it's a throwback. But by themselves, the stories at least have completion. Like you have a beginning, a middle, and an end, so you know
was
exactly
essentially
what's
like
going on.
It was essentially like an Indiana Jones situation where each
Yeah.
movie was its own. Like when you look at the Tomb Raider games, each game is its own story, and then you get into the remake with Legend, Underground, and Anniversary are all one trilogy, which didn't make a lot of sense to me because I'll get into that later. But the Tomb Raider Angelina Jolie movies were, like you said, they had a beginning, middle, end. They weren't trying to continue the story through 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, and that's kind of what Uncharted was. It had a beginning, it had a middle, and it had an end. Even though a lot of it was combining multiple games into one movie, which was probably one thing I didn't like. But hopefully, the next one sticks with the one game that they were trying to stick with, which I'm excited for because it was the game that I enjoyed the most. One of them. So yeah.
And from there, if you were a producer, here's one. If video game stories are so awesome, why do movies based on video games suck? One guy, of course, I think we all kind of feel the same way. Writers aren't familiar with the material at all. So studios focus on making money rather than being true to the material. Critics not understanding a rabid fan base, and sometimes fanboys expecting too much, is what this one person said. And I kind of think we kind of all feel the same about that. Like they just want to make the money and they don't know anything about the actual story of the video game they're even trying to portray.
Yeah.
So y'all say your thoughts first. I got one. It's going back to Resident Evil, but it's about the George Romero stuff when he was working on it.
Okay.
I definitely feel like when they don't have someone who's either familiar with the game, working on the script, or planning things out for the movie, it hurts them. Or if they're just taking the flashy bits and the actiony bits, and they're not doing any of the build up in between, and just going like, here's action, action, action. Oh, look, the end. Like,
yeah,
there's stuff that happens in between that builds up to these things. It's supposed to have this repeated swell, and they're just like, we're gonna go all the way up here and drop off the end of the cliff, and that's the end of the movie. Goodbye.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a. Sorry, Mittens, go ahead. I'm still gathering my thoughts here.
No, unfortunately, you see that way too often, and that's why we were having these conversations. Like, listen to the fan base. If you want to make even more money, and you want to continue maybe making a series, listen to the fan base, play the game, get the source material, and actually get acquainted with it. And then maybe you'll have even stronger, like the MCU. You know those people read those comics. You know they've played maybe the games, if they're games related to that superhero or not. And they know the backstories, the canon, the different universes that they live in. And you're doing pretty well with the movies. I mean, you're doing amazing well. You're making billions of dollars. Can't you do that with a video game?
Mm-hmm.
We have so many.
The hardest part of that would be the player element. Like, you can't replicate how you feel as the player interacting with that world in the same way that you would in a movie.
Very true.
Because you're not doing that, but you have to watch it happen outside of you. So it's a little different trying to catch that same vibe, I think.
Yeah. But like Matt was saying about that one game, was it The Godfather? You're just some random dude in that game.
Yeah.
And in the movie, you see everything happening, and then in the video game, they took this random guy that sees things happening, but you're also seeing stuff that you didn't see in the movies.
Yeah.
In the video game. So I think that was done well, even though it was released way after the movie. If you can do that with a video game after a movie, you could kind of do that with a movie based on things you couldn't see in the video game.
Yeah, and like
If that makes sense.
Scarface, you do play as Tony Montana, so you're like, how's this even going to work? Because the way the movie ended, you're like, how's this going to work? But somehow they made it work. They're like, oh yeah, this and this and this. I think what they need is a PSN, a PlayStation network of movies. I'm kidding.
The subscription prices.
So yeah. If you want a good movie, pay us $120. No, for the Resident Evil stuff, like George Romero, and if y'all know who he is, he's famous for Night of the Living Dead. He basically started the whole zombie craze, and he, I mean, not saying zombies weren't around before, but he made them like mainstream pretty much. And sorry, no, it just so he was supposed to direct Resident Evil originally back in the 90s. He directed a commercial for Resident Evil 2, but I think it only came out in Japan. You can actually see it online. And his movie, his script was going to have basically everything happening from the first game, but some of the characters were going to be a little bit different. However, the movie was going to take place within the mansion, but Capcom didn't like the fact that he had characters not related to the game or characters being different. Like Chris Redfield was, I believe, Native American, they said. I cannot remember what it was. And then it was like no Jill, no Wesker, nothing. And then they said, nope, we're going to go with somebody else. And they went with Paul Anderson.
And I know you're very upset about that.
I didn't dislike him at the time. I didn't start to dislike him until he made Aliens vs. Predator. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Stop. Why'd you make a two vicious killers a PG-13 movie? No, Event Horizon was great. I freaking love that movie. But he just should not be in charge of video game movies or movies in general, because Death Race 2000 was... I booed him at Comic-Con. Did I mention that? Yeah, I did. I booed him at Comic-Con for that. No, it was just... and I think the problem with his movies was... And Monster Hunter, I heard, was just atrocious.
Bad.
I heard it was just
Terrible.
the worst thing. It got pulled from theaters, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if it got pulled, but I wish I had never wasted that time.
Oh
Yeah,
my
because
god.
you're a huge Monster Hunter fan, so I can imagine how you basically feel like how I felt with the Resident Evil movies. I know I've brought that up many times already in this episode, but they just left it's a guilty pleasure, but they left a very bad taste in my mouth. I mean,
Yeah,
I take that back.
That's me, the Monster Hunter movie. Like,
Yeah,
I could have done so many other things in that time that would have been better
it's
spent.
like what 2 hours you're never gonna get back of your life.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel you
Laundry
there.
would have been more entertaining. Watching paint dry would have been more entertaining.
Oh god.
Yeah,
It's
no,
so bad.
no. Yep,
Oh.
no, I
It's
hear
so
you.
bad. I didn't even know there was a movie, Monster Hunter movie.
Well, it
Like,
was-
yeah.
I knew it was getting made, and then when the trailer came out, I just saw the reactions from people. They're like, "What was this? What is that?" And they just kept saying the movie's going to be awful, and it's partially because of him. And it's like you said, Mittens, where and both of y'all actually touched on this, where they see something, they're like, "Oh, that looks cool. Let's throw that in there." Yeah, there are cool moments in these games, but you don't want your movie just to be all the awesome moments in the games. Like if you make one. So I will say that Uncharted did have a lot of really cool moments from each of the games, but mainly one of them being from Uncharted 3, as you saw in the trailers. And I'm like, I hope this movie's not full of just all the big moments that happened in all 4 games. I hope there's more moments from other games instead of just, them trying to throw them into one, which they didn't really do. They didn't throw every single awesome moment from each game into one movie, because then it'd be pointless. And that's part of the problem with some of the Resident Evils is that you had the first movie. There was a bug flying around here. It's probably a mosquito. You had the first movie, Resident Evil, which had, it really did when you really think about it. And at the time I was just so pissed about the movie, but now I think about it, yes, it did have a lot to do with the first game. You're in a mansion. There is an underground lab and everything. And then people were like, oh, it's not like the game. So then they make the second movie more like the game. Like, it's too much like the game. We want this. And it's like, they gave you what you wanted and you're still complaining. I enjoyed the second one. I know I'm going to get flack for, but I really did enjoy the second one. Maybe not Nemesis so much, but I enjoyed a lot of the references they had to the games, even though some of them weren't Resident Evil 2 or 3 related. Like, there's one Code Veronica reference in that movie. So they did take a lot of stuff from the other games and threw them into this. And then after that, they're like, okay, we're going to throw all these enemies that weren't in the other ones into this third movie. And I'm still like, what is this? What did y'all do? Like, that third movie, I was just like, oh god, it's so bad. So bad.
You can't please everybody. So they did the first one and they were like, let's try to rectify that. And then they do. and then they're like, nah, there's a bunch of people uproar about it,
Yeah, it
and
just
we're gonna
went downhill
change the
after that.
formula again. So
Now, if you watched, it was Afterlife. No, it was Retribution, the 5th Resident Evil. They kind of blur together because those are kind of the same movie. But the 5th Resident Evil movie, my uncle watched it and he said it really did feel like a video game because it kind of went. They're going into each different levels because they're kind of in a simulation in that one, and they're
yeah,
going through level until they get to the final end where it's up above. But then again, the director took the same thing I had a problem with in the not the same movie. Jill's wearing that stupid thing on her chest, and I'm like, why does she look like she does in 5? It's 2012. That game came out in 2009. Make her look a little bit different at least.
yeah,
It's the same movie. I had the same gripe with Barry and Ada and Leon, and yeah, just not a good movie. I watched it, and I'm sitting
now
there.
you're beating a dead horse.
I'm sitting there telling my dad, like, he was watching it with me. I was like, okay, that's not like that. That's not how that happened. That's not how that happened. That's not how that happened. This person's that person. But I mean, I did enjoy the last Resident Evil movie because it was the last one. I'm kidding.
Well, speaking of saying like that's not how that happened, and you brought up this earlier, and real quick before we have to wrap things up, is Cowboy Bebop when they did the series on Netflix. My husband doesn't watch anime; he hates animated anything. So when I told him this was based off of an anime, he was like, "I guess I'll give it a try." It's like, okay. I was like, I don't feel like it's going to be anything like it. And it didn't end up being anything like it. That's, of course, why it was canceled. I was frustrated. Every time an episode would come on, I'm like, hey, that's not how the anime goes. Like, don't even take this. Like, you need to watch the anime. This is wrong.
Yeah.
He was just like, why? Like, you're missing all the backstory. Like, everything about these people. And when you recreate something, you can't brush over those parts and then make your own canon for it, especially if you're making trying to make an adaptation from the original. Just don't do that. You're setting yourself up for failure, obviously. No second season. So
I mean, that's why Castlevania works so well. They honestly, I've heard that live action shows based on animated shows like Death Note and Cowboy Bebop, and I think there was another one. It was the Babadook or something.
I think we had Dragon Ball Z as one, or Dragon Ball was one.
God. Oh, God. Dragon Ball Evolution. Yeah, no, not a... Oof. We don't talk about that. Street Fighter has never had a decent movie. The first Street Fighter movie was okay. It's watchable. It is just for Raul Julia alone as M. Bison is worth watching it, but the movie itself was not the best. And then you had the Chun-Li movie, which is, from what I heard, just awful. So Street Fighter has not had a good adaptation, whereas Mortal Kombat had like one good one. It's had 2 good movies, and that's all we're gonna talk about there. But yeah, no, like Netflix, their live action stuff based on animated stuff has not been good from what I've heard. But then when they make an animated show like Castlevania based on a game, it actually did well. So Castlevania, I don't think would have worked as a live action. I think it only works as an anime. Same with Devil May Cry, and if they are for sure doing a Netflix Zelda series, I think it should be animated because I feel like it's just going to be butchered if they do a live action.
And we're gonna fight.
It's easier to do animated than live action for games or movie adaptations of games if you really think about it. Because look at those CGI Resident Evil movies; they were awesome. Probably because they were just doing voices and they weren't having to worry about, who's getting enough screen time, who's getting enough this, who's getting enough that. So to me, honestly, I think game adaptations work better as animated. Sonic the Hedgehog was amazing. I loved it. Can't wait to watch the second one. Oh, it's hybrid. It's animated / live action. So, the fact that he's animated
today.
I'm not going to bring it up again.
Don't bring up Resident Evil again.
No, I've already said enough about that series. It's my guilty pleasure. That's all. I'm going to leave it at that.
I guess we're just going to make a movie. We're all just going to make a movie off of a video game and then let everybody read them and weep.
It's going to be called Geekcast the movie. I don't know. So we'll see. Any final thoughts from you guys, though?
No, I think I'm good.
Good. What about you, PBD?
Everything that's been said has already been said at this point.
Yeah, I think now
Mic drop.
Now we're just, like you said, beating a dead horse. Yeah, this episode went a little bit longer.
It did. You have so much work ahead of you. I do apologize.
Yeah. So, well, what I'm thinking is that I'm just gonna do a timestamp for like the entire gaming news or gaming adaptation section because there was so much to talk about, and
It was over an hour. I'm looking at the timestamps
yeah,
that I put down. It's like at 2 hours almost. It
so,
feels
yeah.
like.
So I might just make that like this. So if y'all are watching this, the timestamp for the movies, the game stuff is probably just gonna be one chunk instead of going through the little ones, so that we don't have to worry about jumping around too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is it for this episode. The next episode is going to be modern games versus retro. And I'm gonna have a lot to say on that. I won't be as critical with
You,
some of those as I was with the movie adaptations. I knew I was gonna go into this one being very critical of a few things, but that is definitely exciting. We might have a guest for that one. I gotta talk to a few people and see if they're down to jump on that. Otherwise, it'd just be you and me again, Mittens, talking about retro versus modern.
Heck yeah. Of course, y'all can find us on our Discords here on Twitch, well, here on YouTube, Twitch, Matt's Geek Corner, on everything. Me, you'll have to look at my link tree because it can change. Mittens 13 has been used in some things, so
You know
you
what?
can find.
I might just
Go
put the
ahead.
link tree down there below instead of all your other links to make it easier. People can just click one and then go. Same with you. People
Yeah,
just put the link down there. They can click it and find all your links.
yeah. So you can find us, and yep, PBD's links will be in there. Matt's, mine, all down and below in the whole section with everything that we've talked about today. Also going to be, if you want to DM us, so we can talk about anything you're interested in us talking about, any topics specifically that maybe nobody's really talked about, and you have an interest in. Go ahead and give us a DM. We'll definitely like to talk about stuff like that with y'all. Any more comments? Maybe something we could do better. Anything like that. But like you say, modern versus retro episode next time. I'm more of the modern, of course. You're more of the retro, so that's going to be interesting, depending on who we bring in as
Yeah.
well. And of course, you can find us here on when are the podcasts released on.
They should be out every Monday, but sometimes if they are not able to go out on Monday, I will let y'all know, and I'll probably just throw them up on Tuesday instead, so that it's still somewhat fresh in the gaming world and everything. But Monday is going to be the episode release date. I wanted to keep it as close to the recording date as possible. That way it's not too out of date by the time it goes live. So they should be up on Monday, I think 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, 8 or 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. So just keep an eye out, and then I will post it up on Twitter once the videos go live, and then I will send them. I will let you two know when they go live, so that y'all can, and I'll send you links so y'all can share them off to your audience as well. But yeah, that Mondays mainly is when they're gonna go live. I'm still working on the Spotify stuff though, so that we can get the audio versions out as well.
Yeah. Definitely coming soon though. Spotify version's definitely coming soon.
Yep. Other than that, got nothing else. Thank you guys for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I do apologize for it going a little bit longer than normal. We had a lot to talk about today. I had a lot to say about a certain movie that I won't bring up again. But if you did enjoy the video, definitely hit that thumbs up, ring the bell to be notified of when videos go live. Share it with your friends and family. Let us know what your best or worst video game movies are that you've seen, what your favorite adaptations are. Basically, any video game movie stuff, let us know what your favorites or least favorites are down in the comments below. We would love to talk to you about that. But other than that, thank you guys again, and we will see y'all in the next episode. Y'all have a good one.